Welcome back to the Machine Shop channel. In this video we're going to be finishing up the stand at Motorcycle Live. We put the finishing touches on the world record bike and put it to the test. We complete the last leg of Pete's motorcycle trip across Europe. Please support our channel by dropping a like and subscribe.
Okay, right. I have popped down to the machine shop because I actually have a few jobs that I need to finish. These little signs that I've made at home, refining the edges and just putting some finishing touches. Then I need to finish off a rail for the merchandise, and I actually have a few other jobs as well, so it's going to be a late night at the machine shop. Best ones.
So for the closed rail, I started with a very detailed sketch of how I want it to look and roughly how big. I'm using 2x2 steel box section, which is what we used for the rest of the panels. In terms of design, I wanted to attach to the metal panels that we already have for the stand and to go with the overall industrial workshop vibe that we have going on. Now I'm making the main leg. I've actually always wanted to learn how to weld, but never had the opportunity or the real need to learn until Bob and I started working together. He taught me how to weld and I really love it, and I actually find it really therapeutic. It also gives you the freedom to do a lot more DIY stuff, which I love. So if you want to learn how to weld, I couldn't recommend Bob enough. He is literally the best. But anyway, enough flattery before he hears me. I want the rail to be able to come apart so we can flat pack it. So I'm doing the perpendicular bits detachable. For that, I'm bending some steel strips, which I'll then weld to the box section. I tidy up the welds with the angle grinder. I went a little bit too far, so Bob showed me how to fill it up using the welder and then sand it again. That's a good thing about working with metal. You can afford to make mistakes from time to time until you become good at it. And here is the final result. I'm happy, and that's another job ticked off. Off to the next one. Now for this one, I need to create some bracketry for some signs that need to go on the other signs in a way that you can't see that they have fixtures. So this is for the little chevrons I already made for MotoGP in the summer. My idea is to basically make them hook onto the metal panels so we can put them on and off easily in the future. I'm starting with removing the leftover glue marks from before. Then I'm planning on using some 3mm steel to create the actual fixtures. Bob uses those for the welding classes, so we have plenty of them. I'm using the milling machine to drill the holes. Now I'm marking up the drilled strips for the bender machine. In order for the chevrons to hook to the panel without being loose or wonky, it's really important that these are measured precisely. Now I need to cut them to size, and for that I'm going to use the angle grinder. Then I just need to screw them on and I'm done. Well, there is a little bit more to it. And you can watch the full version of this and the rail making soon on my personal YouTube channel. I'll put the link in the comment section.
Darling.
So welcome to the wiring shop. Our job is to turn that wonderful mess of spaghetti and this into a service. But we're also reducing this even further because we want to be as simple as physically possible to the world record. Also to mount all the electronics basically to the engine or with the engine. We don't need that. But the starting point has to be the actual main diagram and also Bob's incredible spreadsheet that he's just written some numbers of.
Along with the wiring, we also need to finish up the brakes, the bodywork, and get the frame ready before we can get some practice on the world record attempt. So let's get stuck in.
And now it's time for the most important of my jobs, the conveyor belt part creation. Stick around to see the legends Dean Harrison and John McGuinness have a go too. So what I'm going to be doing now for the conveyor belt, we want to make something that people can go from welding to sandblasting to powder coating, and it has to be free, so that means it has to be very cheap for us, and it also has to be cool enough for people to want to do it. So I was thinking and I was experimenting with things, and I came up with something very simple, which is this little heart. And basically what you do is you bend one of the steel pieces in half, like this, and then you bend it outwards, and then you create the little shape of the heart, and then you weld it over here, then you sandblast it, then you powder coat it, and then you can take it home and you can put it on your Christmas tree, or you can put it on your fridge, whatever. I've made little calculations over here. I'm gonna try and make a jig that will make that process easy enough and the same for everyone. So even someone that's never had a tool in their hands can actually do it. I'm gonna figure it out and then I'll show you the final product.
You can make hearts. You're not meant to turn it right, Maria. You're meant to be wicked.
So I'm gonna cut this piece of metal plate. It's very thick. I found it on the shop's floor, so it's the only one I have, so I'm not allowed any mistakes.
I love watching. Description.
Do you want me to explain what I'm doing? What is it called? It's called... It's not a tunnel, it's like a...
Channel.
Will you help me, Ollie?
I don't know what you're talking about. I genuinely don't know what you're talking about.
What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut a little bed into this with the angle grinder. So basically when we have this, it will go down and it will stuck in up, it won't move around. Let's go. Oh, and I'm going to use this because I don't want my face catching on fire. Right, so I'm ready with my invention. From sketch to reality. Woo! Okay, let me demonstrate. It works in two parts. First part, you take your thing, your piece of metal, and you put it on here in the little tunnels that I cut, and you push it all the way there because that's basically the middle. That's how I made it, so it has a stopper. Then you get a chisel and then cover your ears. You bend it like this and then you bend it backwards in a shape of a heart, like this. And then you go to the back of the invention. Oh, I'm missing a part. This is a part of the invention. I will attach it so we don't lose it. And then you put it into this little thing. And over here, you can see that I've made little grips with welds. You put it in there. And then you push on this little thing that I made there, like that. And that holds it together for you to weld. So then you weld it over here, and your heart is ready to take to the sandblasting unit.
Sick.
Oh, I've got that as well, can't you?
Yeah.
Would you like to do the conveyor belt?
Conveyor belt? I don't know.
Yeah.
Three of things to stop.
Yes,
So create the V of your heart.
Let's have a look at that second bit. Why is that good?
That's TIG, that's MIG. TIG's what Psyche chassis is, that's like, well, your fibre length has to be, because someone's
Silver
fucking, it's
too
not
fast.
bird shit, man.
Is that hot for?
Oh, you don't want to touch that.
Okay, I'll stick it in water for you.
Is that good?
I'll put it in the book the more, it's good.
Is that good? Very good.
Semi-pro.
I've had a beer and I'm
You were
struggling.
too fast.
Are you going to
Nice.
take it? With the V up in the air, he's a knuckle scan, the thumbs is mandrel, and then Ryan. Oh, V up, V up, V up. You go that way if you want.
So you go like V up, or V down with it.
Happy go V up if it comes down. But
So this, spin it like that.
you're going away from the V to create your heart shape. That's your V.
So you're going to spin it that way.
Yeah, that's the one.
I can love that. Well,
Yeah. Easier is make MIG welding's donkey work. TIG welding's hard. Now look at that. Fuck, he's on the job, this lad.
I hold it down, you can take that up.
So,
See, because that's going over like
You
that,
take that back to Mrs. She will love you forever.
I could,
You mercy
to me,
me.
if you MIG weld, that'll be easier because I'll be able to melt that off.
well,
Whereas TIGging will be hard. Yeah.
beauty. Gonna get that into our little cooling pot.
You want to look at that.
No, I didn't look at it. No, no.
Right, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to take you to sandblasting.
There we
Have
go.
you ever done sandblasting before?
I have done sandblasting before, believe me. Bit there.
Alright, lads, fair ready?
Follow me.
All set now.
2, sandblasting. Right, so we open this. Yep. Pop your thing there.
Yeah, that's the wrong way.
Well, you're going to do it all the way around, so
It's easier that way. Start in the open, that's
yes.
it. Women always give you a bollock and you get used to it.
Really hot. Oh, okay.
Oh, you pulled me powder coat off now.
No, I didn't.
Bear with me a second. Fuck, it's hot, is that in there?
Yep.
Not very much.
Go.
You should be
Nothing being over that's me.
fucking fast. Time up, 4 times.
23 seconds.
Whoa!
Have a 2 pints of
With the setup of the show being a massive success, it's now time to see our world record attempt at assembling and disassembling bike in the fastest ever time.
So you're gonna help me count? 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome back to the final instalment of my trip to Greece. Last time we set off from the cemetery, we're headed down to Paralia on the east coast of Greece, our last stop before returning home. It's a lovely little seaside town. It's kind of reminiscent of Skeggy, where the beer is as clear as the sea and the locals come slightly cooked. We only chose it out of convenience, but it does line us up nicely with National Road 13. This takes us down past Mount Olympus and towards Meteora, a bunch of old rocks with a temple, or monastery on top. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong as well. On the way down to the cemetery, we were pretty much just on dual carriageways and then very rural roads, so this was the first main road in Greece that I really got to experience, chuck the bike around on a bit. I talked about losing grip about halfway down Croatia and it was back, thankfully, considering the number of hazards there are on Greece roads, but this and the weather made this a much more enjoyable riding experience. We'd made it to the Meteora in no time, and as is tradition, because we are British, we stood on some rocks, so there I am on a rock. Lovely. Quite a tourist trap apparently, and again, more hazards, thank you Greece. I think it goes without saying that the hazard avoidance, however, was worth it. It was around this time that I actually started to appreciate the Aprilia as a motorcycle. Whilst it has its foibles, moaned about them enough, it actually has a really great frame, so despite the terrible suspension on mine, it actually handles itself rather well. National Road 13 wasn't an intentional choice by us, we pretty much just drew a line between Paralia and Igoumenista, which again I'm probably pronouncing wrong, and picked a route that was not a motorway that went between the two. And it was worth it. There's such a variety of scenery, travelling in the shadow of Mount Olympus as you start out from the east coast, and this was definitely the easiest day of travelling, even though it was actually quite long. We soon arrived over the Igoumenista, home to wonderful pastries, random port bikes, and checked into our overnight ferry to Bari in Italy. My favourite part about the ferry is that it wasn't Albania, and it arrived at 9 AM, which was great. After a little safety check, and yep, that was my front brake disc looking incredibly healthy, we headed from Bari to Paliano. We stopped in Nepal for some Roma pizza, which completely escaped me at the time, but anyway, and arrived about an hour east of Rome in Dolo Vittori Borgo Acacolo, which I definitely said wrong, which was the best, and I mean this, the best Airbnb I've ever been to. The host was incredible and cooked us some incredible food. Everything on site was made fresh with grains that they grew themselves, meats came from neighbours, they made their own wine, and you can pet the dog. Cleo is very friendly. We used this place as a home base. We actually stopped 2 nights there, and we rode from there out to Rome for the day, just to be tourists essentially. Some of the back roads were kind of interesting, and then riding into Rome itself was a bit more of a challenge. I embraced my inner moto gym and tried to shred through the lanes of traffic as best I could, but I had forgotten that Italy only has F1 car drivers. That person may be in a very sad looking Renault or some weird smart car or something, but no, that's an F1 smart car, that's an F1 Golf, that's an F1 ambulance that looks, yeah, the attitude is there. The grit, the desperation and the power of the Italian driver should never be underestimated. Rome's quite nice though. Here's Dad enjoying his first coffee and generally just being horrible tourists looking at the sights. He hates lemons, and when life gives you lemons, Rome will rain on you apparently, but we're still relatively dry compared to the rest of the trip. The next leg was up to Genoa, which is northwest of Italy, and we decided to go via Florence. Now, interestingly enough, my Google Maps, all downloaded offline before we left the UK by the way, found us this incredible single carriageway road that goes right into the heart of Florence. Please don't kill me. The perspective on this camera is very wide, being a 360 camera. Hello F1 moped. Being a 360 camera, so anything that is close to me on the frame is very close to me in real life, but still made it alive. as you can tell because I'm narrating this video, and we did our best tourist thing and had some Florentine steak, because when in Rome. After some relatively uneventful riding, we ended up in Genoa, and this is a beautiful seaside coastal town, city, place. It's on the south side of the northwest of Italy, just to be confusing. It's pretty much the bit that is France but isn't France. And again, Italian driving was impeccable. But I suppose if you want the weather, then you've got to suffer the roads as well. I was getting a bit depressed at this part of the tour, because as much as it's a beautiful place, we are firmly on the way home here. The last section of the video, and indeed my travel log, is of us headed to Rouen in France via Monaco for lunch. These highways in the south of France are insane. You're pretty much riding over and through cities. This is our arrival in Monaco, a place that befits how posh I sound with a cold, and an absolute helter-skelter to ride around. Thankfully, we were only stopped by the police once, and I didn't get arrested, although I did nearly have a heart attack when I spotted a €5,000 bottle of wine in the fridge in a Carrefour. Riding north out of the Principality of Monaco, which I'm definitely adding as a statistical country on my list, because they get very upset if you don't think they're a country apparently. It started off with dual carriageways as normal, and then quickly turned into the most demanding riding of the entire holiday for me. Turns out that this is a Tour de France route, and the sheer drops, single carriageways littered with rocks about the size of my head, made for some quite interesting moments, shall we say. I said earlier in the video that the Aprilia and I started to get along in terms of handling, and this is where I actually started to get comfortable and push the bike a lot more. I'm being relatively hesitant in the videos because I couldn't really see what was coming, and nearly hitting a few rocks the size of a small child will do that to a person. Riding up such small roads was incredibly exhilarating, but finding random HGVs and trying to reverse down nearly half a kilometre of track was not. It's pretty rural in this area, so no pun intended. Sometimes you see a vehicle that you do not expect to see. This destination was actually one of the places that made us turn this into a larger trip. The south of France wasn't initially on the hit list, but the views made it so. And it's kind of poignant that this was the last couple of days we had of good weather. It's definitely the last filming I did, because for the rest of the trip we were pretty much submerged. But I'm fine with that, because I've already covered the north of France and once was definitely enough. If you're thinking about doing this kind of trip, do it. There's nothing quite like seeing the world change around you as you travel. You'll learn to appreciate yourself and your bike and your own skills as a rider a lot more. And cheese, don't forget cheese. I'll leave you with a shot of Nîmes, the Shard, and me contemplating my next misadventures.
And again, as always, huge thank you for watching. Please support our channel by dropping a like and subscribe.